do you love most about Johnston County?
Gosh, that's a great question. There's lots of things. You gotta like some of the barbecue. There's always somebody cooking a hog somewhere. I mean, can't beat that part of Johnston County. I also see it as it's a perfect community. It's got that rural vibe to it. There's always something kind of fun to do. But you're close enough to Raleigh, the big city, the sports, the colleges, the education, and of course, right down the road, just in our backyard, is the beaches and the beautiful coast of North Carolina. It's right here, just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Sometimes literally a hop over some water on 40.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right about that.
It's not far. There's always something going on here in Johnston County.
Right.
But it's close enough that we can see the Raleigh skyline.
Right. Well, what would you like to see more of? What would you like to see more of in Johnston County?
I think outdoor recreation opportunities is probably the one thing that we're kind of missing.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and today as a guest, we have a friend of mine that goes back 20 some odd years, Bart Poynor, who is a mortgage broker with United Community Bank, which used to be Four Oaks Bank. And he's here to talk to us about some of the things he does and why he loves Johnston County as much as I do. Welcome, Bart.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it. So glad to be out here. I thank you for this opportunity. I think this is a great thing you're doing for the community and bring valid attention to the Johnston County community. I've been out here in Johnston County since 2013. My kids moved out here, and I just saw it as a great opportunity to kind of get away from the rat race in Raleigh, more affordable housing opportunities, a little bit more land. I've got chickens in my yard. I got 17 chickens running around my yard. I don't think that would go over too well in some of the neighborhoods in Raleigh.
No, I don't know that the city of Raleigh is big on chickens in the yard, but out here in Johnston County, you can have chickens. So
yes, sir.
Depending on, there's some subdivisions that have covenants against that. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself. I was just asking you this, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So originally, I was born in California. My father was military, and I spent most of my childhood growing up in Texas, West Texas, or Dallas, and spent a lot of summers out in West Texas. Texas forever, will always be home in some form, fashion, or shape. But moved out here. My mom's career brought her out here and to Greensboro, incidentally, and then ended up after college, ended up in the Raleigh area, and then gravitated out towards Johnston County.
Oh, cool. So where'd you go to college?
UNC Greensboro in the business school.
Okay. All right. And how did you end up in the mortgage business?
So great question. I didn't like college. I was not a big fan of school. Not if you see my handwriting on the intake form, you'll realize probably not the best academics. But I was taking a real estate finance course and ready just to kind of say the heck with college. And I'm not one of those smart people like you attorneys. And so I took a real estate finance course, and I was like, wow, this is kind of fun. I like this, and kind of changed my whole outlook on how I saw academics in school. And the finance professor at UNCG had connections with some of the mortgage brokers in Greensboro. I said, hey, this is what I want to do. And by dumb luck, I got an opportunity to interview, ended up working for a mortgage broker in Greensboro who was a general contractor on multiple rental properties in the Greensboro area. And he's still a good friend of mine to this day. Incidentally, he is completely out of the mortgage business and building houses.
Okay.
But here I am. I was always joke around and say I was too stupid to get out. And it's provided me a good, successful career that's been good to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've been in the mortgage business for a really long time. So you've seen a lot of things. And when did you, I know you're United Community Bank now. When did you go to work with them?
So I'm almost at the 3-year mark at UCB, and I actually really love it here. It's a home. It's a small bank that really does take to its namesake and is very involved and committed to the communities that we have a presence in. And we're actively present in these communities, and it's a good place.
Yeah, well, and and you always worry because, United Community is a bank, I think, based out of Georgia that came in and bought Four Oaks Bank several years ago. And Four Oaks Bank being a Johnston County homegrown bank, and I'd banked with Four Oaks forever, and now I still bank with United Community as they took it over. And a lot of us were worried, like, would they be as committed to the community as Four Oaks Bank was? And from everything I've seen, they have been. Would you agree with that?
Yes, that is, that is our foundation, is taking care of the customer, and it aligns with my values, core values personally, and how I run my business is do what's right for the customer, take care of the customer, and everything else kind of falls into place. And they do live by that core value of service and taking care of the customer 100%.
Right. Are there any, I mean, you've worked for several different mortgage brokers. Are there any products that United Community offers that are maybe more unique or maybe a little easier to get funded? That's always the question with people, with the debt to income ratios, and maybe their credit score is not perfect. Have you noticed any of that?
So that's it's a great question. Thank you for that, Jonathan. I think a lot of potential home buyers or home borrowers have limiting beliefs that they think, well, we can't make this happen. We don't have the funds. I actually am doing a presentation for a group of real estate agents that I partner with, and the title of it is 7 Paths to 100% Financing. We have 7 products that offer 100% financing opportunities to prospective home buyers. Phenomenal. That's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. Some of our niche products that our competitors don't have, and actually give myself a competitive advantage in this current market environment where offers are extremely competitive. Sellers aren't paying the closing costs the way they have in years past. So it helps us overcome one of those limiting beliefs that maybe folks don't believe they can buy a house. Our PATH loan, for instance, which is a United Community Bank product that we actually make available in our bank footprint. So if it's in a county that we have a bank anywhere in our entire footprint in the Southeast, the PATH loan is a product that we offer that offers 100% financing, no PMI, and rates that tend to trend slightly to significantly better than the overall market rate. So
man,
phenomenal.
That's great. I mean, that's great. I mean, given everything that's going on now, well, and I mean, United Communities definitely, they've got offices in Wake County and Johnston County and Harnett County. They still have the one in Harnett County?
So actually, we do not have that.
Okay, the one in Dunn. Four Oaks had one in
Dunn anymore.
Okay.
That branch actually closed about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
But incidentally, we still do offer the PATH loan in Harnett County.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And well, that's great. That's great. And your office now is right here at 4042 in the Glen Road branch. I know you're there several days a week when I go in there it's where I bank, and I've banked since I got here to 4042 Cleveland area back in 2000. And, you're there with, Vicki Weaver's there. She's been there forever. Several other good people there that can help people with their personal banking and business banking as well.
So actually, they ran me out of there, afforded me another phenomenal opportunity.
Oh, okay.
So I actually cover the Smithfield, 2 of the Smithfield branches. I cover the Benson branch and the Four Oaks branch. So I'm actually no longer in that branch.
Okay.
Which is kind of we don't really do promotions in my world. I'm a loan officer, mortgage originator. There's a million names for what I do, but we don't actually get promotions in my world. But for lack of a better word, it's kind of a great opportunity or promotion because it allowed me to cover more of the area in Johnston County. So instead of coming here and just limited to this one branch, I now cover 4 branches.
Okay.
And have the opportunity to build those relationships with those other branches. Vicki Weaver is a branch manager there. She does a phenomenal job of being involved and taking care of the clients, but they moved me on, and it's kind of a level up opportunity for me.
Well, that's awesome. Chad Massagill's still there too. And,
yes, sir.
And he does tons of loans and does help my business with small business loans many times over the years. So if anybody out there is listening to this, if you need any banking services there, and you're in the Cleveland area, definitely stop by the Glen Road branch, see Vicki Weaver, see Chad Massagill, and anybody else there. Definitely call Bart Pointer if you might need a mortgage, and see some of these products with 100% financing. The interest rates, I mean, you've been in this business a long time. I mean, you come into the business and they're 7 or 8, and then you see them go to 2 or 3, and now they're 7, 8, or 9. So talk about that adventure.
So people always ask, what are rates going to do? And I always say, I know what rates are going to do without a doubt. They're going to go up, down, or stay the same. The truth of the matter is there's a lot of complexities that go into mortgage rates. And one of the biggest pieces of misinformation that the media tends to put out is that the Fed's changing rates, the Fed's reducing rates, the Fed's increasing rates. And the media doesn't 100% understand it, but that actually does not directly impact what mortgage rates, what mortgage rates do. Mortgage rates are actually determined by the MBS market, or mortgage-backed securities markets, that are traded on Wall Street, and typically by hedge funds or the buyers of these mortgage-backed securities, and the demand for those. And mortgage-backed securities are influenced by a multitude of factors. What the Fed does, they tend to run in line with the 10-year Treasury bill, but also geopolitical and socioeconomic things going on at home. In good economies and bad economies cause demands for mortgage-backed securities. We always say that in a negative economy, investors are bond investors, which is a fixed income. So when you invest in a bond, you're getting a fixed rate of return on that. So if we have inflation, which we've seen a high inflation environment the last few years, last year and a half, 2 years, investors will actually go away from a fixed rate of return and invest in other opportunities, equities as we know them, the stock market. In a down economy, a recession, or something going on geopolitically, investors like to flock back to what they call safe haven investments or fixed income securities, where they know they're going to get a guaranteed rate of return and there's much less room for risk. And so we see that flock back to a safe haven investment. The Fed manipulating the markets and changing the federal funds rate does have an effect on rates, but it's more of an indirect effect. For instance, I've seen in my career where the Fed's actually lowered the rate or risen the rates to combat inflation and slow down the economy. And because of that, investors see mortgage rates or mortgage-backed securities actually will go down, or sorry, mortgage-backed securities will actually go up, bringing rates down because they see it as the Fed's in fight inflation. So it actually has the inverse effect of what we tend to rationally think.
That's interesting. I did not know that. So, I mean, at this point, I mean, with rates being 7, 8, as we, at the end of 2023, when we're taping this episode, is that causing more and more people to not qualify?
The figures, yes, that is coming into play. I wish I had the data available, but the cost of a home today, a $300,000 home today, is significantly more than it was 2-3 years ago when rates are less than half of what they are now. The payments on a 30-year fixed mortgage or on a $300,000 loan are up at least 30-40% from where they were. And that's affecting something we call the debt to income ratio. And that's how much you're spending as a percentage of your total income. When that interest rate goes up, the payment goes up, and therefore the debt to income ratio goes up. Most loan programs, or actually all loan programs, have a cap on debt to income ratio. So as that ratio goes up, it cuts some of those folks out of those products.
You're absolutely right.
So
yeah, I've seen that over the years. That's for sure. In doing divorces, we often have people in our office who need to refinance to be able to possibly pull cash out to pay the equity to the other spouse as they're separating or divorcing. And that's becoming harder and harder because a lot of our clients are running into the debt to income ratio issue with their house payment is going to go up significantly because in the refinance, they're going to refinance into 7.5 and they were at 3, and we're having people not be able to qualify, which often will force them to have to sell the home and then actually divide out the cash equity among each party. So each, the husband and the wife, or the two spouses, as far as that's concerned. So we are seeing that some and affect our business. And and then the inflation in general is hurting people. There's, people's incomes are not always keeping up with inflation and what they're spending at the grocery store. And that makes it difficult in any situation. And of course, at this point, they can't maybe buy as much house as they were able to buy a couple of years ago. But some of these people, if they drop down in price, they can still buy a house. They just maybe can't buy as much house. Is that what you've seen?
So all great points. And you really are a student of your industry and your career, and that's much respect for that. What I am seeing, the trend that I'm seeing now is that while rates are high, And if somebody is going to sell their house and buy a new house, they're equity rich. There's a lot of equity, as we
A ton
know,
of equity.
in this market. A lot of folks have gained a lot of equity because of the rapid price appreciation in this market. And some of it is just a natural course of cycles and inflation. But one thing about this area was always a great value for home prices, and it finally is catching up to some of those other markets: Atlanta, Dallas, Miami. I won't quite compare it to Southern California or Northern California, but we were always lagging behind in the value of houses. So houses are almost correcting themselves to where their natural value should have been a few years ago. If you think of the prices that we would have paid 3, 4, 5 years ago for a house, some of that's just the market correcting to the demand that we're seeing in this market.
Well, I tell you what, if you've lived in Johnston County more than 5 years, most houses at least in Western Johnston County, if it was worth 200 in 2019, early 2020, it went up $100,000 or $150,000 in about an 18-month period in COVID, really from say the middle of 2020 to like January of 22. And it's continued to go up. The county commissioners are getting ready to reevaluate all the property. They've gone from, you got to pay your property taxes in North Carolina, and the county commissioners have to evaluate the property every 8 years. But several years ago, they said they're going to change it, and now they're going to do it in 6 years, and they're going to do it in 4 years so that they can get back some of the appreciation into the tax coffers so they can give more money for schools and the sheriff and stuff like that. And so you're going to see, I think it might be next year, there's going to be another reevaluation of the properties here in Johnston County. And they're saying that there could be as much as 30% increase by just doing this reevaluation in the value of the property for tax purposes in this county since the last time they did the evaluation a few years ago. So you're right. There's a lot of people, and we talk to people in our office going through a divorce, and they're like, they really want to keep their house. And I'm like, but the cost, you can't take the equity in the house to Food Line. You can't take the equity in the house to Walmart. You can't take the equity in the house and go to Disney World. Like it's nice, but you might be better off with the cash versus having 100, 150 in equity in a house that you're having to stretch to refinance to buy somebody out of, when you might have just been better off with the cash, where you could have taken some of that cash, put a down payment on a different house, and had the other cash to help you live. So, we talk to clients about that sometimes here too.
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
So I guess we'll ask you more questions about Johnston County as we get towards the end here. What do you love most about Johnston County?
Gosh, that's a great question. There's lots of things. You gotta like some of the barbecue. There's always somebody cooking a hog somewhere. Can't beat that part of Johnston County. I also see it as it's the perfect community. It's got that rural vibe to it. There's always something kind of fun to do. But you're close enough to Raleigh, the big city, the sports, the colleges, the education. And of course, right down the road, just in our backyard, is the beaches of the beautiful coast of North Carolina. It's right here, just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Sometimes literally a hop over some water on 40.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right about that.
It's not far. There's always something going on here in Johnston County,
right.
But it's close enough that we can see the Raleigh skyline.
Right. Well, what would you like to see more of? If you had to wish to make anything happen, what would you like to see more of in Johnston County?
I think outdoor recreation opportunities is probably the one thing that we're kind of missing. Maybe you'll use some of those tax revenue increases.
Right. Well,
some nice green spaces for us.
Right. Well, and the county's looking at maybe doing a park out here in Cleveland over the next 5 to 10 years. They have the land there. They're going to redo the main Greater Cleveland Athletic Association campus there behind the old school across from the fire department where our kids play all the time. And now they have the land back behind the fire department at Polenta, right there at the corner of Polenta and Matthews, where they've got that 80 acres that they've got a plan now to maybe build some fields and walking trails and stuff like that. So I think the county is headed that way. They've hired Parks and Rec director, Adrian O'Neill, a few years ago. We've never had a Parks and Rec department in the county. So I think, and we have the Mountains to the Sea Trail that they continue to expand around Clayton and going towards Smithfield. So I think we're headed that way, but you're right. I think we could have more. And some of that is, cities are more into Parks and Rec than counties. And this county's kind of been a little behind. But if you're going to have all these unincorporated areas out here in Cleveland, which is the biggest city, even though it's unincorporated, it would be nice to be able to have a few more parks. And I think they're coming around to it. The question really will be, how quickly can the commissioners either get grants or sell bonds or decide to allot, what could be $30 to $50 million to build a park, in the Cleveland community. I mean, we'll have to see, but I think you got a good point there. If there was one thing that you would want the people of Johnston County to know about you or your business with United Community Bank, what would that be?
Great question again. I think the number one thing for me is I fell into this business at the right time and the right place for me. But the number one thing for me is my goal when somebody walks into my office or I get on a telephone call is doing what's best for the customer. That's what I always strive to do. And I built my career and practice around always taking care and doing what's right for the customer. And it's paid huge dividends to me over the course of my career. And I think that's the number one thing. We've got products, we've got, the full mix of everything, but just taking care of the customer. And sometimes that means, hey, my buddy, my constituent over another company has a great product that actually fits your needs better. Sometimes it means that. Sometimes it means being a resource of, hey, how can I help you find a resource? I don't do a lot of land loans. Land loans is not my forte. I can refer that business out to somebody. It's like, hey, Jonathan, you want a land loan? That's not my wheelhouse. That's not what I do best. It's not what my expertise are, but I know somebody that can help you. And just being a resource, give, get is kind of how I built my practice. And
all right. Well, the last question I've got for you is, what has you excited about Johnston County moving forward over the next 12 to 24 months?
Some folks struggle with growth, and I think we all struggle with growth because we came out here for a reason. There's a reason we're here. There's things we like about it. I think with the growth, there's opportunities for our respective businesses, and I think that has me excited. I hope it's done well and done the right way, but I think the growth opportunities and new friendships, new relationships, new opportunities for business, new growth, new opportunities and resources that we don't currently have out here. Hopefully some improvement in the schools. Those are things that I truly do find exciting about this area.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure that you follow or like or subscribe to this podcast wherever you're seeing it so that you'll be made aware of future episodes when they come out, as we have many more exciting guests coming up in the next few weeks. And I think you're going to really enjoy. Some of the true leaders in Johnston County are going to be on this podcast, and they've got a lot of good things to say. And I think you will find it educational and informative if you continue to follow us. If you can always we'll be able to find all of Bart's information in the show notes down below. So if you want to get in contact with him, I guess I could ask you, I forgot, how is the best way to get in contact with you?
My cell phone number is the best way, 919-235-7525. And you always ask me what my office hours are. I doze but never close. Don't ever forget that.
Hey, that's cool. That's cool. So so make sure you like, subscribe, follow this podcast where you get so you can get the future ones. If you would be kind enough to leave us a 5-star review, we're at the bottom where you can review podcasts. It will increase our visibility, so more and more people will find out about the Best of Johnston County podcast that we're doing here. And until next time, I'm Jonathan Breeden. Thanks a lot.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.